Hello, Alexa. Pause. Hello, Alberto's going to be hopping in here in just a second. How is everybody? We've all finished the book, yes? Let me read some of these comments. Hello. Yes, the music is truly a pleasure. I find this overture to really capture the mood of Anne. Hey guys. So what did we think? What are our thoughts? Did anybody cry? I cried. What are we thinking? What are our initial thoughts after finishing the book? Love the book, of course. Oh, Stella's going to come join us too, or knock over my coffee, one or the other. Yes, I cried. Me too. I'm planning on finishing season 1 of Anne with an E tonight. Hell yeah. I'm still emotionally fragile. Same. I got to that part before Alberto did, and he was like, "What's wrong with you?" I was like, "You'll know in a second." Yeah, so if anybody hasn't finished the book and you're tuning in right now, there will be spoilers to be had, so maybe finish that up and then watch the live. I actually struggled a bit with the second part. I didn't find it much like Anne, like the first part, definitely because she grew up. Yes, Rita, I feel that too. We kind of felt that sadness that Marilla had watching her little girl become the woman that she was trying the whole time to make her become, and then ended up realizing how much she loved that little girl. Anne grew up way too fast in the end. I agree. But in that time, she was 16 at the end of the book, and think about all the responsibilities she has as a 16-year-old. I'm planning on reading the rest of the series as soon as I can get my hands on them. Yes, me too. I finished it. My heart had cried. The ending, it's a little bit sad, but good. Be careful what you wish for, Marilla. It's true. I was sad when I realized how much Anne changed, but at the same time, I loved the ending. All right, Alberto, are you going to jump in?
I'm hopping in.
Hopping in.
Hello. Wow, what a book.
How do we hold this?
I got it. What a book. This light is not working for me.
It's not super fun.
No, not working for me. So, thank you, Tessa, for starting the live. Thank you guys for waiting. I was overhearing a lot of the commentary, and I have to agree with everyone. Wow. I think I can boldly say I am better having read that book.
That's a very cool comment.
Loved Anne's development. I'm just catching up, watching Anthony right now. You're on book 2 already? Annie Hanson's diving in.
Oh, yeah.
Enjoyed the book so much. Can we pin the book title? Oh my God.
What?
I almost spelled Anne wrong. An amazing book. Someone says I'm wearing a sweater, so it must be chilly.
We're not going to get into that discussion again.
Oh, I can't pin. It's like whenever I don't try to pin a comment because I accidentally touch it, it pins. Ha! Got it. Okay. The last few chapters were difficult, but it ended on a sweet, hopeful note that made me feeling better. Dude, I was sad by the end. I wasn't ready. Honestly, didn't know what to think at the beginning. Reading a kid's book, but the more I read, the more blown away and enticed I was. Had so many emotions by the end. Why did everything at the end of the book happen so fast? Anne of Green Gables, it's a show too. It's not a bad idea. Look at you.
Yeah? No, we don't need to touch it.
Wow. Okay.
All right.
I will say this. We saw the musical in PEI this summer. And I remember the end being so shocked that a lot of things didn't happen. I was shocked about Matthew. And then I was shocked that with all of Anne's ambition and stuff, she was able to kind of maneuver. Hey, Trish! Hi, friends.
Hi, Trisha.
She was able to like maneuver and kind of make her life in service to Marilla, just like Marilla and Matthew had like made that sacrifice for Anne. Like I thought that was beautiful, but I was also like, I told Tessa, I was actually frankly kind of pissed. I was like, this whole book, we've been waiting for Anne and Gilbert to finally be a thing. This whole book, we knew they were gonna, they were the ship.
But there's
they were
so
the
many
OTP.
books.
Yeah, I didn't know this at the time, though,
Right,
remember?
right.
So I was like, what? Like in the musical when they're like, yeah, he's going to do this and I'm going to do this and all this, you're like, and they're married. And no, they're just cool now. I remember feeling disappointed by that.
In some musicals, they put in a kiss at the end.
Oh, really?
Because I think people were unsatisfied.
It felt very unsatisfying, but at the same time, like, to me, that's kind of like the way the book should be because, like, although Anne recognizes all the beauty of life, she has to work at it. Mm-hmm. She doesn't just, like, get given all these gifts. She has to decide the world that she sees with her imagination. And, so I feel like, in a way, it was, like, an exercise for us to have to do that because we're, like, if we didn't know there are more books, we have to imagine that they eventually do have this beautiful love that, like, grows on and then maybe they both live at Green Gables one day, or
But
I don't know.
About the time and like if someone walked you home like that implies a lot.
Yeah, but he used to walk home Ruby Gillis. Jazz?
Yeah, but Ruby Gillis.
Gillis.
But yeah, because he was like courting her.
Yeah, but she wasn't interested in him. She just wanted a beau.
She was trying to figure it out, but like that's what that implies.
Yeah.
So even though to us it's like, okay, he walked her home, but that actually is a much bigger deal.
Well, I think the only way for me that I recognize that it's a big deal was like Marilla kind of being like, so who'd you spend 30 minutes with at the gate just now?
Exactly, because like she did not acknowledge at all that they talked for that long.
And then Anne's trying to be like, just my new friend. Like, no one else means nothing more to me than that.
I can't believe it took her that long to approach him and forgive him verbally.
Mm-hmm. All the time I was reading, I kept saying to my daughter, you got to read this book. Yes. I was telling Tessa, and I think I said this in the last live, that I feel that this book truly is. It has no age range, it doesn't speak to one set of people. Like, I feel like this book is completely available to children, adults, men, women, any phase of life. Because I feel like older people that are older can relate to maybe some of the adult figures in the book: Matthew, Marilla, Miss Lind.
And
then I
seeing
feel
this
like
child who has that imagination and this beautiful joie de vivre and this life that she brings, and then seeing the older characters be like, oh, we appreciate these things about that.
Yeah.
And Marilla starting to miss that child in Anne and also that child in herself. And, so we're relating to all of that. And especially in the second half of the book, you start to lose that part of Anne. And it's really sad. And I think
it is
really
sad
important to adults then.
It is sad to see her like.
But Matthew's always the one who's like, oh, don't give up all of your romance, Anne. Like, you got to keep a little bit of it. You got to keep that regardless of how much you grow, how much you age. Love Matthew. We're behind in the comments.
Alrighty, if we're talking about Anne of Green Gables, have you had a chance to watch Anne with an E? No, haven't seen it yet. Pissed about Anne Gilbert too. Thank you.
keep reading the books if you want more Anne and Gilbert content.
We need to read the next one, Alberta, to see if they get together. Well, we're not going to be reading series, but the good thing is now you know this whole world of Anne, and you can continue reading on your own, like, pleasure reading. And don't tell me, but maybe I will do the same so that we can kind of... But the problem is I feel like once they get together, I'm going to stop. Be like, I'm satisfied. But I don't... Matthew's death makes you crazy. The last sentence he says to Anne is so sweet. Literally the last things that I've heard. Okay, I don't see the second one yet.
Well, also, they spent the entire book being, like, holding these grudges. If they got together at the end of it, it would be a bit of a stretch.
That's fair, but I think there was some inspiration that Anne took from Marilla being like, yeah, me and John Gilbert.
Do you guys think that's true? Or she was just saying that story to encourage Anne to forgive Gilbert?
You don't think that's true?
I'm wondering what our thoughts are on that.
Why would you not think that's true?
Well, I think Marilla could find a way to tell Anne to forgive Gilbert without telling her to forgive Gilbert.
No, because I feel like I feel like the history that Marilla has with Anne, she'd be like, just forgive that boy already. You know?
Fair.
She wouldn't, like, make up a whole story that's actually very, like, admittive that she was actually, like, a fully fledged person at one point and was, like, young and had affections for someone, and then regrettably, which she doesn't do, didn't forgive him, and, like, you know, like, I feel like it's very uncharacteristic of Marilla to open up like that.
What are the coincidence that, like, this entire thing happened with Gilbert's father?
Marilla's all of us. Tag yourself if you're Marilla. Over 3 years, girl knows how to hold a grudge.
Right?
Marilla, she wants to see Anne and Gilbert happening. I do feel like this is one of the books that can literally be read by anyone. Anyone. This was, frankly, one of my favorite books we've read, too, I have to say. What do you think?
I thought it was a super easy read. Hard to put... Sorry, Stella's, like, looks crazy right now. I found it really hard to put down. I wanted to just keep reading it. Whenever I got into the zone with it, it was just, like, laughing almost every few pages, and then lots of tears at the end.
I wonder what made Anne keep her thoughts more to herself, though. I think just growing up. I mean, I don't think I tell everyone as much as I would have when I was a kid.
Right. Yeah, that just, like, stream of consciousness that she has that maybe she realizes listening maybe is more important as she aged. Okay, Stella's hype right now.
Yeah,
y'all.
Stella's starting new training, I guess, this morning.
But it's not that she's not having those thoughts anymore. She's internalizing them, and I think maybe sitting with them a bit more, letting them, reflecting more on it.
No, yeah, I agree. She still was always Anne. Tay, have you read all the books?
Do you call me Tay?
I said T, but I was breathing weird.
No, I haven't. But I'm familiar with the plot of them because there's another musical that does the next couple books. Very familiar with the plot of that musical. And I don't know how many books I read when I was younger.
Consider the book. I want to know what happens with Gilbert. We're not considering it.
What?
To read another book now? We've never done that. There are plenty of books we could have read like a sequel to right away.
No, but I think
we could have done it with
Things
Things Fall Apart. We could have done it with we could do that with a lot of things. Remember, I think one good thing about the book club is it's supposed to kind of be like, hey, if you like this style of writing, here's a whole world. Like Lucy Maud Montgomery, how many books did she write about Anne? 14?
That many?
Yeah, 11 or 14, something like. She's written at least 11 books in the life of Anne. So if you guys want to follow it, you very much can. And we might do, if the book club keeps going a couple of years, we might do like a sequel section or like rereading certain authors thing where we're like, we read all of these authors, now we're going to read other books by these authors. So like, that's in the works, but I don't think we're going to read Anne right away. We've got a couple of the worlds.
If you want to keep reading, I think you should. And,
yeah, for sure.
And also, everybody who's a part of this book club can still communicate with each other and chat about, the next books.
Oh, for sure.
Doesn't necessarily have to be, organized.
Open Heart at the end of the book, and it's just so pure and beautiful. I think Marilla's one of my favorite characters.
That character development is beautiful.
And I think that's something we should all take, too. Like, there are people in our lives that I bet we haven't seen in the way that, like, Anne recognizes with Marilla, up until that point, she thought, Marilla kind of is a little hard on her sometimes and this, but she doesn't see that all comes from a very loving place. Mm-hmm. So I think it's interesting that we get to see that reflected, and maybe there are people in our lives who are like, why are they always so hard on me? Actually, those are the people that are kind of like seeing you the best.
Parental figures.
Especially parental figures. They see everything you can be, and they're not going to let you get away with anything less. So I think that's a lesson we can all take, because, there are people in my life reading this and like, oh, wow, I didn't realize that they were pushing me. Actually, specifically, I had an English teacher in middle school that I thought hated me. Like, I thought she hated me. And my dad was like, no, she just pushes you really hard. I was like, no, she hates me. And then I saw her later in high school after something, or I saw her later on in life, and she admitted that I was one of her favorite students.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and I had no idea, because I was like, gosh, she's always like on me when I don't do the reading, or I don't do the homework, or I didn't do as well on the test as she thought I should have. Like, I was like, why is she so mean? And then I found out later, it's like, no, she's like, no, you're actually one of my favorite students, and I'm not going to let you get away with any laziness.
Saw your potential.
Yeah. So think about that. Okay, let's go back into these.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm skipping to the bottom. Oh, we missed a lot. Okay. High school, I spoke English better than her, and that pissed her off. Oh, Anna Cat Fernandez. I watch a show a bit different. Literally going to research about Anne and Gilbert. I can't handle this. Oh, she loved Anne in her own way. That was extremely touching. Oh, yes, and to all of our Canadian fans,
Happy Thanksgiving.
All of our Canadian readers, everyone wish them a happy Thanksgiving. This is a great time where you get to spend time with family and be thankful for reading great books and having an amazing book club. And
oh my god.
I'm kidding. And just like, well, congratulations and happy Thanksgiving. What else? Okay, so anyone reading, I guess, Rita, is that for watching Anne with an E? You're going to find out some spoilers about Anne and Gilbert?
Yeah, what's Anne and Gilbert's relationship like in this series?
Do we want to know or we want to watch?
Oh, yeah, maybe don't say. Sorry. Also, that was not nice, because then other people don't want to know. Sorry.
Okay, there we go. Hold on. No, don't want to read that.
Spoiler.
So basically, the people who are rude actually love you super deep down.
No.
Not everyone, but the people who seem to like...
Not the Josie Pies of the
never,
world.
I feel, yeah, not the Josie Pies. Can we all talk about how Josie Pie is a pie?
I love that. No, but the whole family... She meant like their whole family are a bit much to handle.
But she was a girl with no ambition and no spark of imagination whatsoever.
I love that was just this recurring theme that they kept bringing up. Like, Marilla, who never let anybody know her thoughts, really, and then Anne brings out, like, this subtle shade.
Oh my god, I love Marilla's shade.
I think that's the tighten it back there.
Oh, it's not working now, because it's like, off its rock. Okay, it's good. Doing the book club, sitting by the fire, waiting to have a turkey. That sounds like heaven.
That sounds amazing.
So I guess Anne will have to deal with a pie student as a teacher. I guess so. I didn't think about that. Jersey, I can't stand you, pie. I think that's one of the most important and my favorite parts of the book, how being deemed unimaginative is the biggest insult you could get.
Yeah.
And I think that's something we should all take from this book and bring into our life, is that wonderful spark of imagination for good. I think people often, anxiety and a bunch of other things, couple this amazing imagination to do incredible harm to your thoughts and to make you nervous and scared about things. But if you use that power of the imagination for good, it could be this incredible tool. Think about how anxious you can make yourself about something, and imagine and know that you could literally do the same in the opposite direction if you just work like our heroine says, if you just work at it.
You gotta work at it.
And it can be very hard. She does not shy away from that. But I think we should all take this time before we start reading our next book to kind of take today and have an and day. It's a beautiful Sunday. It's where we are, it looks glorious outside. We're going to have a great brunch after this. And we're going to look at life. And that's one of my favorite lines in the book, and I'm glad it's right at the end. Dear old world, you are very lovely, and I am glad to be alive in you. I think we have to look at life in that way. And we're going to be here either way, so might as well
enjoy it.
Might as well enjoy it. I love that part Matthew was so shy and embarrassed about at the store. It's storming here in Georgia. Oh boy. You speak French. It's already 9 p.m., Alberto. What am I supposed to admire? Now, do you think Anne
would Anne
accept
say?
that answer? She'd find her pillowcase imaginative and interesting.
She'd find nighttime was a big part of imagination for her. The woods, that's when it all came alive.
Yeah, and if not, she would go to bed dreaming things and waking up excited about waking up. There's a lot to do.
Bedtime.
Admire the stars, Rita.
She said bedtime was her favorite time when she was at the orphanage because it was her private time to close her eyes and think and imagine. Mm-hmm. And I feel like a lot of creative people do that, where they daydream a lot and they just close their eyes and think.
Mm-hmm. I do
that a lot.
Yeah, but
doesn't look.
So overall, let's talk about this. Should we know that I'd say overwhelmingly we all really loved this book. I haven't seen anyone that didn't quite click with it yet. And if you didn't, please share, because that's an awesome perspective to have. What was it that maybe bothered you about the book? What, other than the fact that Anne and Gilbert didn't get together, what is it that bothered you? Because to me, that's what bothered me the most about seeing it was you have this beautiful story of imagination and life, and in a way it's almost like a childhood, where you kind of look at it with these rose-tinted glasses. You're like, wow, my childhood was great. And then she has some very adult circumstances hit her at the end of the book with what happens with Matthew, and the reality that Green Gables might be sold, and then having to kind of figure that out. But she takes it at stride and doesn't allow life to get in the way of her ambition or what she still wants to do. I don't know. I think it's a very powerful message, but also not ideal. You do feel sad. You're like, oh, I wish she went on to study it, but doesn't mean that she doesn't do that either. I don't know what happens in the other books, but I'm going to speculate based on some sort of aforementioned knowledge that she does eventually go on to do cool things.
I had so many thoughts go through my head while you were saying that, and now they're all gone. Yeah, I thought the whole little section about how she was dealing with grief and death was really interesting, and seeing her and Marilla handle it very differently. Just Marilla, someone who usually kept that all together, and then used it as a moment, as an excuse really for her to express everything that had been bottling up in her for years. And then Anne, who usually is so able to articulate how she's feeling and let all of that flow through her body, had no tears.
None. And she found that shocking.
Yeah. But I knew I knew when she woke up it was gonna flood over her, because we've all had those moments where you wake up and you think about the day before and you're like, oh, thank God that was not a dream, and you're like, oh no, I thought that I would wake up and it would be all gone. And she had that moment, and I thought that was beautifully sad.
Yeah. But so also let's just talk about Lucy Montgomery being able to really bring us through this journey like that. Mm-hmm. And I thought she did a very awesome job. And then can we also talk about one of the coolest things that I've noticed in this book was how we talked about it briefly in last live, but Anne's, like, not destruction of, but Anne's constant, like, she's coming up against these gender roles that were trying to be, like, pushed onto her by Mrs. Lynde. How she's like, oh, you already have more education than a woman should be comfortable with, and all of these things, but not once does Anne take her seriously in that.
She laughed.
Yeah, she laughs at Miss Lynde. She's like, oh, I'm going to keep studying. Are you crazy?
This is the joy of my life, is learning.
Yeah.
One of the coolest quotes in the whole book is she's like, there's so much that nobody knows. There's so much to learn. There's so much unknown territory. And that's what excites Anne. So, of course, she's going to keep studying. This book is so progressive. Like, think of the time that it was written in. Mm-hmm. For women, first of all, they go to school and there's a female teacher that comes in.
And that was a big deal. Because remember, even then, Miss Lynde was like, women shouldn't be doing that.
Mm-hmm. And then to find out that Anne is going to be teaching too. And then that Miss Stacy does, when she gets that group of students who want to continue studying, a lot of them were women. And then also I think of Marilla, someone who had grown up in her life before and had accepted and lived her life very happily, but never once did she really stand in Anne's way. Never. She was actually quite inspired by Anne. Yes, yeah. Exactly. Like, anytime Mrs. Lynde would say something about it not being for women, Marilla would be like, she countered that. Mm-hmm.
Forward thinking for the times, and it really resonates with our time. It does, and that's the thing, like, when did she write this book? What year was it when she wrote this book? 19...
does it say?
Oh, something?
Yeah.
In the early 20th century. 1908.
There we go.
1908. Same year that I think Rolex was founded. 1908, she wrote this book. And even today, we're seeing, like, how inspiring and how amazing it is and how amazing it must have been for her to write this book at that time.
Marilla has a quote where she said, I believe in a girl being fitted to earn her own living, whether she ever has to or not. I read that like as I was understanding what it meant.
Yeah.
But it's like, and that's the end of the sentence. But basically, Marilla's talking about, I think a girl should be educated enough to take care of herself, even if she doesn't end up needing to. I mean, in these times, like, most often she wouldn't be earning her own living. And for Marilla to say that, I thought that was very, very cool.
And I wonder if she would have said that had she not had Anne.
Probably not. But so many times Anne has these moments where she comes to Marilla and she says, so this is the way things work here, but I don't understand why. And this constantly would come up when she said, women can't be ministers, but I don't see why, and asks this to Marilla. And she keeps bringing up all these questions, and then Anne gives a perfectly good explanation for, well, she can pray just as hard as a man. She understands.
I can give just my sermons actually might be better than this guy.
Right. And then, like, she just constantly brings up all these social constructs and questions them with Marilla, like, as her little chum, you know, and they have this...
I kind of do like that Marilla at the end softened just that much more. Yes. It made me really happy. And then, I don't know, I like...
Matthew would have been so proud to hear her.
Also, let's talk about Gilbert really quickly, because there's something I do want to touch on with him, where I'm like, I appreciate that at that time, he was not intimidated by Anne.
Yes, I agree.
He was so secure that he was like, yes, I can't wait to be great friends with you. And never once did he, like, expect her to just, like,
even when she
not
won
be who
the
she was.
scholarship and he didn't, and he really needed it.
Yeah.
And it was not a bit of, well, maybe, we don't know because they didn't really tell us.
But
how
maybe there was like a pang of like, oh man, I didn't get it. But it was never...
But he was so inspired by Anne.
Yeah.
From the very beginning, the fact that she was so clever, that was what attracted him to her. It had nothing to do with, like, at that time, I don't think it had to do with her looks. I think he was really interested in who she was and how she thought and how she was different.
And she kind of like made life magic. Mm-hmm. So I think he did like really, and I think it's so cool because like you don't see that. I mean, the men. How many men do you really hear from in this book? You hear from the teacher in the beginning. Mm-hmm. You hear from Matthew.
Yep.
And you hear from a doctor. You hear from Gilbert
our
occasionally.
main characters,
all of the main characters are women.
Yeah.
And the story is mostly
Matthew.
about, except for Matthew, but like the story's and I thought it was such a cool thing that Gilbert, not once did he ever say that Anne shouldn't be doing what she was doing, or it was just so cool.
Yeah.
And that's, I think, another shocking thing about this book in 1908.
Can you guys believe that? That's so cool.
And that's one thing I do want to just touch on really quickly. One of the most important things we do in this book club is we read books from the past and we see how they still are relevant and important, but we also have to recognize the world that they were written in and admit and see what the amazing things they did and some of the faults. I don't see that many faults in this book. I can't think of one. I think of only the amazing things this book was.
Obviously, like, if this was written now, it would be very different. There would be things that were obviously not said, but we have to think contextually where this was at the time that it was written and how that was pushing things forward or not, or and most all of the books that you guys have read have marked a time in history in how it was moving things forward.
Mm-hmm. Even if now we look back and we're like, oh wow, I can't believe we should acknowledge the blessings we have to like look back and be like, wow, look how different things were and look how things have changed and look how some things haven't. But look how we've grown. I love this book.
Yeah.
This was a recommendation from Miss Mossy here, and I think she chose a great novel. He found a kindred spirit in her, and I think he thought her to be a breath of fresh air. Absolutely. He says that he fell in love with her when she hit him across the face. I thought Gilbert would inherit the scholarship Anne had given up. In the musical, don't they say that he does?
She tried to give it to him, and they said, you can't
give it away.
Transfer it.
Yeah. The fact that he renounced the teacher in Avonlea for Anne's happiness, which also speaks to how great he was, because it's not only Anne's happiness. Like, he recognized that she had to take care of Marilla and Green Gables, and like that responsibility, he was like, the least I could do is make that a little easier on her.
Right. He was teaching because he needed the money to send himself through school, and she was teaching because she had to be close to Marilla. So the proximity was...
Also, can we just talk about, like, it's very romantic that they've had a rivalry their whole life, and now at the burgeoning of becoming, like, people in adulthood, they start to fall for each other. I feel like Anne planned it. She's like, how romantic is this story? We are foes all our life until one day on the beautiful walk home.
Yeah, because she forgave him so long ago and just didn't
held on to it.
Was it her pride getting in the way? I feel like I wish Matthew had said something to her earlier to encourage her to go do that.
Mm-hmm. He was the king of patience indeed. How long did he wait for Anne? A long time. Rosende reads what Mossy recommends.
Oh.
An amazing recommendation. Yes, Tessa, we were born to be good friends, and you've thwarted destiny long enough. I loved that quote. I was like, yo, good line, bro. Good line. Also, the hate between them stimulated her to be a better person. It was interesting if she won't accept it. That's true. Like, she admitted. She was like, if it weren't for Gilbert inspiring her, giving her someone to combat against, like, someone to kind of push her. And that's another thing. Like, we have to recognize, I think, I don't know if any of you guys play sports or if anyone has some sort of competition, or even if it's something they're looking to get better at. Like, having enemies is just as helpful as or people that you want to, like, competition. Having competition is just as helpful as...
Being surrounded by people who are better than you should not be looked at as a bad thing or a threat. It should be inspiring and...
One of my favorite quotes is, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah.
And I think that's essence of what we're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you know there's a prequel now? There's a prequel now.
Yes, there is.
Can we talk about Diana and Anne's friendship too? Yo, Diana Barry. Think she's great.
Oh.
Sweetheart. Having an opponent helps you better yourself, essentially. Sometimes, yeah. And I think in a healthy way.
And there's room for everybody. It doesn't need to be... our switch remote. There's room for everybody, and I think that instead of thinking about competing to replace one another, instead to encourage each other to grow together and make each other better. Me and my friend competed unofficially in our psychology A levels. It was fun and just forced you to work harder. Yeah. Test of time, yeah. No, not quite.
All right.
Such a sweetheart.
We have about 20 minutes left, so I think right now is the best time to start quotes. Favorite quotes from the book. And it can be from the beginning, middle, end, anywhere. What are things that, when said or when read, you were like, oh, wow, that's really cool?
These are my knits.
It doesn't have to be an opponent in a negative sense.
I loved when Anne said, next to trying and winning, the best thing is trying and failing. Do you remember that quote?
Mm-hmm.
I liked it.
It shows our club is doing some good in the world, Miss Allen says. That ought to be our object in everything. This is one from the writing club. Yes! How the object should always be to do some good in the world. I like that. Next to trying and winning, yes.
I was sad when the story club ended, though.
I was too. And I didn't like that the teacher was so critical about that.
Yeah, but I mean, think about the
I get it,
way education has changed now, where before maybe it was encouraged that there was a very clear right and wrong, which is not a way to instill creative thinking.
Mm-hmm.
It's actually quite the opposite.
I love that quote too. Well, I don't want to be anyone but myself, even if I go uncomforted by diamonds all my life. And the things you wanted so much when you were a child don't seem half so wonderful when you get them.
Yes.
I think that's something we all realize as we get older. Like, as a kid, you're like, God, I can't wait to be in high school or in middle school. And then you get to middle school and you're like, I can't wait to be in high school. And you get to high school, you're like, God, we don't know anything. I can't wait to be in college. And you go to college and you're like, I can't wait to be an adult. And then you're an adult and you're like, I wish I was back in college.
You remember playing house when you were little and you're like, I'm going to have a job and my own house. And then you're like, and all the bills and all the responsibilities.
And I have to get groceries every week. And I still have to go to the gym. And I still have to, like... And now if I eat poorly, I notice right away.
My girl that I'm proud of. I love
that.
That
broke
too.
my heart in like the best way. Yeah.
And that was their last conversation that we saw.
Also, like, I think one of the things we could also just... I don't know why. I'm taking a bunch of things. I'm like, wow, we all have the power to do this. Like, Anne was a light in everyone's life in Avonlea. Even Miss Barry, who called her that Anne girl, who everyone thought was this, like, super uptight Mr. Potter type character, was enamored by Anne and loved her company and found her smart and clever. And it's because she was never trying to do what someone else was doing. She was always acknowledging her growth. And when she had a fault or felt she spoke too much or felt that she apologized and was aware, but at the same time,
so genuine.
She was so genuine, and her curiosity really like sparked a light in other people. And I think that's something we can take into life, is that idea of curiosity being that doorway into like cooler things.
And it doesn't have to be reserved for children. That you are allowed to be curious and creative and excited about life as an adult. What a concept that we should be.
And I feel like there is that often thought thing with adulthood that you have to be serious. You have to live your life, and I've never lived by that.
I mean,
don't know if that's been good, but I've never lived by that.
No, it is good though. I mean, it's such a loss. There's so much to be. There's so much to discover. There's so much to love in this world. It would be a shame to only do it for the short childhood of your life.
So Marilla looked at her with tenderness that would never have been suffered to reveal itself in any clearer light than the soft mingling of fireshine and shadow. Loved that line. It's new every morning, and I feel as if I've washed my soul in that bath of earliest sunshine. The speech when Marilla opens up to Anne. What page is that on? We'll read that. It's nicer to think, dear, pretty thoughts, and keep them in one's heart like treasures. Tomorrow is a new day with no mistakes in it yet. Love that too, because I'm like, oh, that's a good way to think about it. I think they have like weird signs that say like live, laugh, and love. Why don't they have a sign that says that? Quotes Anne.
Well,
Someone make it.
You should make it.
Someone make that sign.
I shall make that sign.
Put it in the bathroom. Mr. Allen says everybody should have a purpose in life and pursue it faithfully. Only, he says, we must first make sure that it is a worthy purpose. Who decides that, though? The worth.
Probably yourself.
Probably yourself. I never knew how much I really liked her until I saw her familiar face among all the strangers. I like that, too.
Was that about
the teacher that she saw at the expo, at the exhibition? She's like, "Oh, Miss Allen! Oh my God, not Miss Allen, because that's the preacher's wife."
Yeah, the minister's wife.
Yeah.
Who was that about? Was that about Mrs. Lind? It was.
Oh, was it?
Yeah. I think so.
But that is true. Like when you're in a place where you don't know anyone and it seems huge, and you see one person you recognize, you're like, "Oh my God, you're my best friend."
We talked about that the other day. Hey, Tay.
Tay, miss you.
Oh, I had a quote too.
Oh, who else is there?
Oh, hey, Mish.
Oh, you guys are together.
I like that they're on their own phones, though.
Yeah, they both had to put a comment in. But we can't have things perfect in this imperfect world, as Miss Lind says.
The other thing I really enjoyed, and this is not super deep, but I love when Marilla was crying and Matthew came in with some pretty sensible advice. He's like, it's okay, and Marilla's like, I really just want to grieve and not be comforted right now. I just want to enjoy my grieving, and then she's like, oh, men don't understand this.
I also like that
Really funny.
Matthew got to have the moment where he was like, you know what, I did all right. Put my oar in sometimes, didn't mess anything up. She's doing great.
It's so sad that he thought, though, that he
didn't have something to give.
To do with her upbringing when he was a massive, important part, and so quietly intuitive and intelligent in the way that he
just
imparted wisdom on her.
I know I'm not on camera anymore, but just awesome, just absolutely awesome.
Just some of the things that he said, and about talking about just showing somebody that they're loved is maybe more important to someone's upbringing than anything else.
And support. Their support. Marilla and Matthew supported Anne, and she blossomed. Mm-hmm. Now, they did have their own thoughts and stuff to do for her, but...
I thought about it more too, about how she was so obsessed with her looks mostly at the beginning of the book, and as an orphan, her coming into almost every single situation, she probably never had nice clothes to wear, and it was probably very obvious right from meeting her just by her appearance. That's what people are judging her on immediately when they see her, and they know that she doesn't belong and that she doesn't really have a family and she's not loved, and this is all the things that are going through her head just by somebody seeing the dress she's wearing. So to her, that obsession with her appearance was so much deeper than just wanting a pretty dress. It was wanting to feel loved. It was wanting to feel like she had a family, that she was accepted, that people would see her, and that she was someone
worth the space that she took up.
Yeah, and she wasn't just an orphan. She was so much more than what she appeared to be.
What if you haven't found your purpose, and how do you find it?
Remember the Alchemist's book? That was a big one on finding.
I thought you had a direct quote.
That would have. You looked so excited. I was like, oh. No, but I mean that book talked about it.
I would read The Alchemist.
And
then I honestly, I think it's every person has their own journey they have to take to do that.
Some people don't find their necessarily true passion until much later in life. Some people find it really early. Some people find multiple purposes or passions throughout their life. It's not one thing. And I think the main thing about that is just being open to finding it, and to exploring many different things and seeing what clicks for you, what sparks that curiosity. And if you're open to it, you're probably going to discover a lot more than just one thing.
Exactly. And I think it's one of those things that the deeper you go, the more you know. Mm-hmm. Oh, it rhymed.
And the more you know you don't know.
And then the more you know, the more you feel like you don't know. We are rich, we're happy as queens, and we've got all imaginations, more or less.
I love that. We're happy as queens. I love that.
Another funny one of Marilla's quotes. She does plenty of unofficial preaching as it is. Nobody has much of a chance to go wrong in Avonlea with Rachel to oversee them.
Her shade is so funny.
Also, I loved how Anne was like, Marilla, what do I do whenever I'm with Miss Lind? I just want to be bad. And Marilla's like, yeah.
So do we all.
So do we. But that also speaks to like...
that unsolicited advice.
Unsolicited advice and that idea that as humans, we like to make decisions for ourselves. You know, we don't want to be told what to do. We won't be shown what to do, but we want to kind of discover things on our own. And someone asked, yeah, it's a really cool car door that...
Are you going to bring the door over?
No, I'm just going to turn it on.
Okay.
It's a light.
It's a light.
And it looks really cool.
It has a... yes. The other main important thing that Anne was recognizing and maybe not able to clearly identify what it was, but Rachel Lynde's advice is not always what she truly believes. It's just she wants to give advice regardless of whether or not it's what she actually thinks, and she loves to contradict. So even when Marilla didn't come to her for her advice about whether or not to adopt, even if she thought it would be a good idea for them to have a boy to help them on the farm, she now is saying, oh, this is the worst idea in the world because I didn't come up with it. So Anne is recognizing that like she doesn't stay true to what she believes, and she just likes to talk and to be right and to have that contrary opinion. And Anne recognizes that even though she's not quite like put her finger on it, I think.
Yeah. If you can't be cheerful, be as cheerful as you can be. All right, we have 9 minutes now, so let's last thoughts of the book. On level of the books we've read, how does it compare? Are you going to read more Lucy Maud Montgomery now? I don't know. I'm happy. I feel better to know Anne now. Like I think
it's such a good reminder as an adult too.
Well said, Tessa. It feels like yesterday, but so long ago at the same time. If you didn't read it, it's a great book. Really is. Really is. I love the chapter when Matthew got Anne a dress with puff sleeves when he came in and saw her with her friends. Saw her something different. Still brightest in the room. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. And so I saw someone comment earlier about how sweet it is that Matthew loved to buy her all these things.
Yeah.
It's not that matters. But...
in the musical, it's one of the best scenes.
Oh, it is.
Because it really plays with you really start to see his shyness, his inability to kind of find words. I Can't Find the Words is a great song, too. Yeah. Like the musical, if you get the chance to see it, because now that we know the world and we know these characters, it does a phenomenal job at like opening their lives a little bit.
He's trying to go in to ask if they have puffed sleeves, and he gets stuck on the P of it, and then he ends up leaving with everything that starts with the letter P.
With a pail and with
pitchforks,
with potatoes. Loved it. Yes, good, happy.
We should watch an episode of that show.
We can. I'll read all the books. Yes, I'm grabbing the series as soon as I can. I will read more. Anne is the best to have happened this year. Oh, knowing Anne is the best thing to have happened this year. Aw.
The Shilbert content.
Sherbert.
Wait.
Yeah, Shirley and Gilbert. Sherbert.
Sorry.
I thought it'd be like Ambert.
Or it could be with his last name Bly.
Angle?
We're not great at.
No, we're not good at that. Love it. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to reread it. Of course.
It's nice to reread books like this, especially when the whole commentary is really on how we change and how we grow into adults.
and how you don't have to shut down to do that.
Yes.
And that even in old age, you can open and learn.
And you can enjoy life.
Yeah, it's really a timeless book for anyone, which I thought was really cool.
Excitement should never be reserved for children. That's very sad to think.
Yeah. If you're going to be as excited as you'll ever be as a child, then what's the point of growing up? All right, guys. I think it's that time that we talk about our next book. Ooh. I'm going to bring it to this world with some wine.
Thank you.
Cheers. So, that was Anne of Green Gables by Lucy Maud Montgomery. Now we'll be reading a book from the 1920s. Entitled.
Perfect for this coming year.
Right? One of the reasons why I wanted to read it, I wanted to reread it. The audiobook is spectacular as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we will be reading The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald next. I am very excited about this. I'm also going to assume we're probably going to do it in 2 weeks. Whoever knows, it's going to be quick reading. It's only 180 pages.
Oh, wow.
We could almost do it in 1 week if I didn't want us to freak out. I'm planning on finishing the book after the turkey dinner. Awesome.
If you can stay awake after dinner.
Yeah.
Everybody seemed to really love it.
I don't know why the TV show fandom came up with Sherbert, which is like her last name and his first name, IDK, but it sounds low-key cute. Sherbert. It does because Sherbert's delicious. I like Sherbert.
And ice cream is a big part of the book.
Mm-hmm. I guess we'll stick with Sherbert. But we'll be reading The Great Gatsby. It is a true classic of 20th century literature. So The Great Gatsby stands as the supreme achievement of F. Scott Fitzgerald's career. First published in 1925, this quintessential novel of the Jazz Age has been acclaimed by generations of readers. The story of the mysteriously wealthy J. Gatsby and his love for the beautiful Daisy Buchanan, of lavish parties on Long Island. At a time when the New York Times noted gin was the national drink and sex was the national obsession. It is an exquisitely crafted tale of America in the 1920s. It's a classic. I feel like a lot of us have probably seen it and or read it before. I'm excited to read it. If anyone's curious, there is a fantastic audiobook done by Jake Gyllenhaal that you can find, which is really cool. That's how I read it the first time, actually. So don't take any shame if that's what you want to do, because it's a very good way to read, I think. So we will say goodbye to Anne. Thank you for bringing us in from 1908. Now we're going into the 20s. And we're going to read this amazing book, which I'm very excited about. I hope all of you are excited as well. Am I trying to speak like Gatsby, old sport? And I think that's something we can do in the second week as part of our discussion, because we probably won't have as much to read for the second week. We could also watch the movie and talk about that. So finish the book, watch the movie, and then we'll kind of bring that into. And I'm talking maybe both movies, not just the Leonardo DiCaprio movie. I'm thinking also the Robert Redford and Mia Farrow movie. It's Mia Farrow, right? Is it Mia Farrow? We'll look it up. But we can bring those in there as well, because they're cool compliments to the book, and we can kind of talk about the differences and things that maybe why they changed or didn't change. I think one of the things the book did really well, or the movie did well, was bring certain scenes out of the book, or certain ideas that I couldn't understand or wanted to see visually. I think it really captured the... is largesse a word?
Largesse.
Is that a word? Am I making up words?
I feel like it.
It's a made-up word.
Made up?
I'm thinking of the bigness of that time and the money that was spent and the enormity of the parties. The grandeur of that time period and of the world in the way of the way people were thinking, at least in the United States.
That in case it's true.
I think largesse is a word.
I'm looking it up.
Is largesse a word? I do this often. I make up words.
It actually is.
You're going to a speakeasy in a couple weeks. Cool. Wait, didn't we go to a speakeasy? We went to a speakeasy yesterday.
That's what that...
Largesse, generosity in bestowing money or gifts upon others.
So,
his parties, yeah.
Yep.
Anyways, thank you guys for reading yet another fantastic novel with us. I will come to cherish this book. I'm very happy we read it. And excited for everyone to be coming in for the next book.
Ooh.
Also, I know I spoke to a few of you at the conventions about this book. I expect to hear all of your thoughts, questions, and concerns.
You got the hands on the hips,
You got
guys.
the hands on the hips. It's dead serious now. Because I know a few of us, when we spoke at the conventions, were very excited about this book. Some of you might even teach it in your classrooms. So we will expect your knowledge. Anyways, thank you guys so much. Anything you want to add, T, before we sign off?
No, I mean, this is really fun. It's really cool also to talk about a book that is about my little home.
Mm-hmm.
So this is very cool. Thanks for sharing it.
Yeah. And if you ever do get the chance to visit Prince Edward Island, you most definitely should. It's a beautiful place.
It really is. It's as magical as the book describes.
And that's the thing. Visiting there, you recognize that it's not Anne pulling something out of nothing. It's her recognizing the beauty of the place that she's in, which is pretty cool. Congrats. Oh, thank you. Making up words are fun. All words are made up. Right. So,
and it is a real word. So there we go.
Yeah, there we go. All right. So thank you guys. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. For all the Canadians having Thanksgiving, have a great meal. Be thankful. Keep being curious.
Oh, pumpkin pie. Oh my God.
Keep being curious. Keep questioning. Keep growing. Keep learning. And continue to be forces of positive change in your communities. Spread the word. Have a great week. I will see you guys next week.
Right.
We will read.
Got a minute.
We're going to read to chapter 11. To chapter 11, not through chapter 11, up to chapter 11 in my book.
When you see.
That's page 96. So when you see chapter 11, stop. All right, so read the first 10 chapters. And we will talk on Sunday.
Ready?
All right. I will see you guys next week. Have a great week. Goodbye and good day.